Hello everyone and welcome to the first in 10 to 6 news. This is a new segment I'll be doing weekly from now on, and basically I'll be covering 10 stories throughout the week and we'll be covering them in under 10 minutes or just at 10 minutes, that's the target. So without further ado, let us begin. For those of you who aren't obsessed with Trump, this week his recent controversy has been about the recently released book Fire and Fury, Inside the Trump White House, authored by Michael Wolff. This book has basically taken 200 interviews that Michael Wolff himself has gone round, and he has collected a load of data. As a result, both sides of the media have gone into complete frenzy. The left attacking Trump, claiming that everything that was been recorded in this book to be fact. Meanwhile, the right defends everything, denies all allegations that was made in the book. I, for one, think that it's better to have a practical approach, but not also to take the BBC's approach, which is to say, well, even if half of it is true, then there's some serious concerns to be taken in the White House. I'm sorry, BBC, your job is to report the news. You're meant to say what happened, that is it. And what I am saying, to read the book with a pinch of salt. Donald Trump managed to get himself into the news again, this time at the beginning of the week, starting off first attacking Pakistan, claiming that the $33 billion that they fund is all for nothing, as they do not respect the American administration. He then spent the following day attacking North Korea leader Kim Jong-un, stating that his nuclear button was bigger than his, with the media as a result going into complete frenzy, with BBC covering this over a period of 3 days and CNN claiming it's the end of the world. His final tweet went on to announce the Corrupt Media Awards of the year that he will be announcing next week on Monday at 5 o'clock. These categories include fake news. But probably the most humorous thing that came out of all of this was KFC deciding to parody Donald Trump's tweet towards North Korea Kim Jong-un and stating that to the McDonald's burger boss that he has a burger on his desk and it's bigger and more powerful than McDonald's one. In bigger news, Iran seems to be having some of the biggest riots in years over its sputtering economy, rampant corruption and rising fuel and food prices. The main protesters are estimated to be at the age of under 25, guessing up to 90% of that age group has been taking part, and a grand total of 42,000 people taking place in over 70 cities. The reason for such a vast difference in age groups that are taking place in the protest, with the younger generation being the majority, is due to their more moderate views conflicting with the older, more traditional views. While the protests have been taking place for many reasons, do not be fooled. The Western media have decided to spin this as a feminist movement, as Armin Navadi, an Iranian woman who took off her hijab in protest against the Islamic dress code, was not actually directly linked to the riots, and did this action before the riots even took place. However, women have been involved in the protest, and I'm sure that there are links to it, but I do not appreciate the media putting on false narratives such as this. Muslim women can celebrate, however, in India at least, as the government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has been pulling all the stops to stop Shibul Talaq, I hope I'm not mispronouncing that, or instant divorce among Muslims, illegal within a sentence of up to 3 years if this is the case. Within Muslim law, it is perfectly acceptable for a male to say that he does no longer wish to be paired with a woman, and that is as simple as that. They are divorced. These divorces are linked to the sudden hike in Indian divorce rates. However, not everyone is happy. Some criticising it, saying that once you criminalise a civil law, you are entering a dangerous territory. If passed in current form, it would create a culture of fear of the state being able to enter your home and able to incarcerate Muslim men. This now becoming an issue of state versus religious freedom. The Zambian government have announced that as of 2018, the school calendar will be indefinitely delayed after 50 recorded deaths have been recorded countrywide following an outbreak of cholera. During this outbreak, over 2,000 cases have been reported over the country, and as a result, Dr. Chilufa has issued a statutory instrument as part of their Public Health Act. He, and I quote, said, "There are children who are coming from areas which we are describing as the epicenters of the endemic, and they will be mixing with children from other areas. There may be cross-contamination, and that may escalate the current endemic." The main areas where these outbreaks have been taking place are in Lusaka, and as a result, the school will not be opening until review, which will take place on January 30th, 2018. Venezuela have been able to avoid the mainstream news, however the plight of the people are still a pressing issue there. For those of you who are not aware, the Venezuelan government, which was taken over by Hugo Chavez and has now been usurped by his predecessor, has been suffering as a result of their strong socialist roots, which have been taking property of big corporations and as a result have forced some of them to leave the country. And as a direct consequence of that, their economy has gone down and people are now starving and having to queue up for simple things such as food, water, or even toilet paper. Even worse, children seem to be suffering the worst, as Venezuelan gangs are no longer recruiting youths by offering them clothes, easy money, or the latest cell phone. No, now they're getting them to join because as a result, they will give them food baskets, which some critics are calling hunger crimes. In tech news, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook creator, has put his personal challenge in 2018 to fix the social networking site in how it handles both abuse and fake news. Critics of Zuckerberg have said that he has not done enough, and that fake news affected both the presidential elections and the Brexit vote. However, after a study on the Brexit vote, it found out that Russian hacking had only placed in 2 ads at a grand total of 50 pence. While the US election investigation is still going on into the amount of fake news that was put on the site, critics on the other side of the spectrum have criticised Zuckerberg for shutting down what people would say is free speech, and as a result, they have either left the platform or started their own. In the UK, people have criticised a new law which makes it illegal to put hate speech or hateful comments on any networking sites, and as a result, you can be arrested. The BBC provided me with a laugh this week, stating as a headline, "Gender pay gap, more than 500 firms reveal their figures." At first, this article goes into how big chains such as Lambrokes, EasyJet and Virgin Money are among the major companies to reveal gender pay gaps. Once reading in further, however, this 15% favour in men has nothing to do with people in the same role. No. What they've been doing is they've been comparing all employees within the company. So believe it or not, people who fly planes and are pilots are earning more than the cabin crew. Dear God. Progressives will be happy, however, as the EasyJet firm have said that they have set a target for 1 in 5 of the new entrant pilots to be female by 2020. People who are against the progressive movement, however, will not be so happy, as they believe that people should be picked on character rather than what genitalia they have. Good news for animal lovers this week, as it is now officially illegal for ivory to be sold or imported into China as a result of conservationists. Mark Graham, CEO of the elephant conservation group Space for Giants, welcomed the news, saying the fact that China has taken this stand means that there is a new conservation superpower in the world that is taking its responsibilities seriously. And we are hugely enthusiastic about this, because obviously the ivory trade is a huge challenge, he said. However, it's not all victories. He then went on to say that wildlife trade more generally has prop challenges in Asia, and particularly China, where traditional uses of wildlife parts have been fueling the massive losses of rare species, around the world. But to see China take the stand is very encouraging. I, for one, although I said this would be a neutral challenge, I'm also happy with this decision. Our final news story of the day is German Chancellor Angela Merkel says she is hopeful that she can restart coalition talks. After the general election, which took place over 3 months ago, talks between the Christian Democrat Party, Christian Social Union and the Social Democrats failed and broke down, resulting in a hung parliament. However, these new talks apparently have optimism, and it is clear within the next few days whether or not they will be, in fact, taking part in a renewed coalition. So there we are. That was 10 to 6, the week 1st of January to the 7th. Thank you for listening, everyone. I would appreciate a like and a subscription, and hope to see you soon.